Hello, my name is Rod, and I'm looking at my main screen. And I've talked about this program many times before for the answering service, existing or startups. You need clients to run a business, and if you don't have clients, you've got to go out and market them somehow. And you need a phone to answer the calls appropriately. And my software recently has integrated into the voice over IP, and we make that easier for you. And about getting clients, can't help you on that except for today. We've integrated in mcRemoteAgent, and I want to show you about that other than the answering service application. Up here on the right hand side, I have linked in an application I've written over the last year, specifically for some friends in the Philippines, managing multiple agents and basically outbound selling insurance appointments, credit card programs, marketing, and they're working off of an Excel sheet. And it gets pretty messy, this Excel sheet, so I wrote this application that I added as an option. It's a little similar to the program that you're familiar with if you looked at some of my answering service. And it could be more complicated by the process of massively importing an Excel sheet. In this screen here, I can back up, import, update, export Excel, append in, and then of those appended into the worksheet at the bottom, populate those records to different agents and managers and portions of the worksheet to the database, which up in the top left hand side is a record counter, and in a found set, the person or company we're dealing with, and then underneath it the color titles actually just change and set that particular record to a different status, or you want to call it. And on the right hand side, basically splitting up the screen, results 1 through 8, or close the record itself. And all this across the titles that called results in email and good prospects are all modifiable for yourself. So you can essentially change good prospect to be some other word or doing of something. But manually, and just adding a new record, click the A and enter a record test that belongs to some agent and some name. And I'm going to say test 5. As simple as you have to do. And you got a new record, now 5 records out there, test 5. And I'm setting on test 5. Record 5 of a total 5. And so if I go to the beginning, I'm at record number 1, the plus key, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all these different records are different color coded. And I go back to this one and color code that one, and not interested, and go back one more. Those are all new. I'm at record number 2, and I say an application is going on that one, record number 1. So we just got a bunch of different color-coded statuses, and of those, each one we can have different results, or I hopefully would think that you would change the word result, 2, 3, etc., or even the color ones to the liking of your choice to make sense. And then what we would probably do on the left-hand third of the quadrant is fill in the appropriate information that's important pertaining that contact: name, address, phone number, email address, fax numbers, and etc. And this could be used for setting up status, a worksheet, cut and paste in this particular area. So you get what you get, and if you have a different time zone, you might even want to set a different time zone for that particular record. Would be about +6, and it could be into a different day or so forth and so on. Okay, so in the middle of the area, I call it callback. It basically is the first thing you would probably do is call back test number 5 person for some reason. When you call them back, you're probably just going to click this dial tone number. Now this one doesn't have a record, but if I put in their phone number, and I will, my phone number 6069272, and off that anyway, I could essentially dial that phone number. Let me get my phone. My phone rings and I could be talking to it on headsets. At the same time, I've also did a URL dial out and test results and some particular tracking on that particular record. And then calling them back, I could be working off of a script. Move that script to the left. And filling in some kind of notes. I could be saying a particular callback date in 3 days for a particular reason. And just set an event for that particular day. And that's done. And I've also have tracking. A callback calendar event, and now I have an event to be done, and this actually populates a real calendar, but on this version you don't see a calendar, we just organize it in an event order. So I'd be calling them back, and I could be making comments along the way and posting that, which also makes a note that I got added a comment. In addition to calling them back, talking to real live people, I might choose to send out an email for some reason and attach some file for some reason and email that particular for some reason. And it says I don't have an email field, which I don't. So if I put in my email address at gmail.com, which when I click off of that, it actually puts the email up here into the process, allows us to work. And I'll set email, and I might want to add a message along the way, like hi, and add that message. And I have just sent that message. If I go out to my email address, that was a callback. I attached a document. I had hiya for that particular agent working with you, and that was the message I'd be sending back with that document. Configuration, there's the document, and back to my program. And tracking that, I sent out an email. So that's how I would be working that area or these records, and I would probably go to the next record and do everything all over again. On this particular one, what I want to do is I want to just set a comment in here because I'm on a different record, and click on the Delta tab, because dividing off the screen I have underneath the titles and results I have tabs. These are for expansion, calendar tracking, importing data from an Excel sheet, importing, exporting. Delta allows me to count how many new callbacks, emails, and what I've done and what the end results would be for those total of 5 records, or the records that added between this date. And if you had more data in here, it would make more sense. Or if you had no data in here and you clicked and did some incrementing, like will call right here has nothing. So if I go up here and set this record to will call and go back into the delta, you would see that I have a 1. I got alignment problem. I moved this all around, so this needs to slide over a couple of digits to be in place. If I changed to a different record, and let's see, we're at a total of 4. This decrement down to number 3, and then the main, go and click this one with a will call also. Now go back into delta. I have to increment that to 2. So over a period of time, for the summary of all the counted records that we're looking at, I have some numbers, and that's between date and date, which brings me up to another portion called a filter menu. And so the date is today to the date of today, so those are the things I've done. So what if I had a lot of records being manipulated, and I wanted to go by a certain date to date? I could actually tell you what's happened over the weekend, how many times you did some particular call outs or will calls and dial outs and so forth and so on. And we're still working on this area. Keep refining, because results and reports and the data output afterwards is usually the last thing you end up doing. And so we've been writing a lot of code over the years. That's the reason for the less documentation. That's the reason for I'm here to help you so much. I'm your mentor to understand my application. Thank you for spending some time. So I pretty much showed everything regarding the process of getting data in manually or importing it in through an Excel sheet, and then color coding, sending results and so forth, dialing out, doing scripts, setting events and calendars, emailing documentation, notes and so forth. Next. And so talking a little bit more about the program, I can essentially hide things. Come back. I have an admin section, which allows me to set up a bunch of canned reasons, a bunch of letters, docs, Excels, any kind of file name that you can write into here and edit. Merchant approved email letters for whatever reason. This is an expansion. Callback reasons. We also have various scripts that you might want to cut and paste. There's any place in this program you could right click and change the text. Okay. So we create a lot of scripts if we wish to. Move them around left and right, so forth and so on. Here's where we can customize all the color tabs and their results, so we could change the results to be something else. Edit, and then load that into being something other than what it is. All the colors will be the same. This is still gray on the right hand side, and these are for expansions. Then we have that filter pick list that it hasn't changed, so when I change anything up here, I want to click this to reset my pick list for the filter, which happens to be this filter menu right here. And so in the admin section, what's important on setting up a new demo or somebody playing with my program is set up your own email header. This is using Google SMTP. I think about that as nice and easy to transpose letters, and it is important that everything's entered in right. Password I'm using is my Google account and password. All you have to do is get a Google account password and put your own password in there, and voila, now we are running under your email passwords. I'm kind of limiting the program to so many cranks, I want to say, number of emails and VoIP hits. Here's where we can back up everything. It's that simple. Just click that and you backed up everything. How about it that fast? Protect yourself. And we got another situation where we call swap files. Is that the main file is mcRemote, but I could essentially swap it out with the file called birdies, and I could create multiple files out there to be swapped in and out and using only one file at a time. So I could have multiple databases in the sense of names, addresses, farming tools, and I could have multiple operators working the single database, but the next day we would work a different project. And that works by clicking up here. And right now using mcRemote, but I might want to swap out for the birdie file. And if I did that, I got 5 records. I export what I have, the 5 records, swap complete. Now using the birdies, import it in. I've got one birdie record up here at the top, and the other record, so we can now work the one record and we can add another one and assign that to a manager or an agent. So we can have multiple agents working under multiple managers and manage those multiple agents, what the program was intended to. But there's nothing wrong with just using it as an answering service marketing tool, because you do need clients to start, don't we? Okay, so here we got 2 records out there, but I really want to get back to those 5 records that we just used, so I'm going to swap back. And so can you see how useful we're exporting the changes that we made on the birdies and swapping now using the remote, and we're back to the 5 records. So that's pretty nifty, I think. And so I worked on this application extensively. We could essentially expand right here on these tabs that I blocked out to make it simpler. And we would do that in the administration admin for operators, excuse me, which I haven't talked about. And clicking on here, and everywhere you want to roll over, you want to see if that little hand comes up there. Might mean something for whatever reason, but that this button here is so we can just delete everything on the CMR, so we can start with nothing in the calendar and no records. So it's a way to play first and then easily clean up, and then we can start fresh with your data. Clicking at administration, E2 OP2, which is the same password that I logged in the KISSSTAR application carried forward, but we still have to add the password in the 2 different places because the program are linked together, they're not integrated together. So being an admin, I have a couple of one agent, Bob, underneath me as the administrator. Okay, and I could allow Bob, who doesn't get to see as much information, I could allow Bob to only do something like the main screen. No calendar, no tracking, no admin, no delta, no nothing. I get Bob's information, but what's most important is his email address. And he's assigned an agent. We set and so forth agents underneath administrators. And go back to the admin record. You can notice that there's 4 records out there, but if I click, I only go 1 and 2. I can't see the other records that belong to the other admin that has agents under it. So talking about this particular admin agent, Mastar, looking at the tabs on the right, you can see the different admin agents that are under there. This particular admin has a manager. And what the manager is for is that, for instance, if I chose to work a record out there, send it emails and documents following up on the leads, I may be instructed to not do any email or communication, just go out there and get phase one, the call, the appointment, and send that record to the admin and the admin manager, CCC. And so what we have is different phases of different programs that could happen, and we're only dealing with phase one. Keep it simple, and we have some instructions for that particular operator. And so when that operator sends an email, automatically just the admin and the manager gets the notification, and that particular agent is time-stamped, marked, goes on to the next record. And so this is the process of setting up out of an arbitrary manager database. What's most important is the name and the email, because what we're doing is really CCC and contact leads to admins and managers. And that's what this is all about. Not to get too complicated, stepping backwards. Looking to the next tab, all agents who are logged on. Well, everybody has a persistent number, and that number is going to be the same number because of the operating system by Apple. But not to get too technical, I'm the only one that's logged on, and it could have multiple agents in this particular mcRemote agent application, and it is unique. So without getting too more complicated, we could essentially log in here with OP2 and go to the operator agent, and that would be OP1 and OP1, and then showing that logout process. And logging back in again, I would have to be OP1 because I logged in as OP2. And if I click, we notice there's a hand here. You can see that agent, the only one logged on is OP1. We got a total of 5 users, 1 logged on. How many VoIP agents? Another thing on this main screen I want to bring to your attention is that I could show you how many are used, how many SMTP and how many VoIP. Out of a total number of accounts, clients, custom, and messages, that being the demo, is also acts as a small girl Friday that wants to have a very limited use of the application, so certain things are turned off. In this case, I'm half and half, so I can show you around some of the options without them being blocked out. This is the main screen. We got a message holding, we got scheduled, and now I'm just showing the behind and the next alarm after that, and then we would look at the full screen. And those alarms are above now, and so next alarm would be 5:35 p.m. tomorrow. And being that we also have access to the admin section, allows us to check out some plugins, set up some event blinking times, 24-hour backups, and do some reset of the plugin, put Humpty Dumpty in order. And this is done on a regular 24-hour basis if you choose to use the plugin. Stepping backwards. And just to mention one thing is that any message or any line that you see in some kind of a portal of what we have, you can click on any of those messages and go to that particular message. And going back to the main screen, I would just want to bring to the attention that we're only 3 screens for a operator to use, other than the admin understanding everything. That's what you have me here for. But basically an operator would take a message, hit the tab key once, focus to the orange block, hit it again. I could take the next incoming call that's ringing in this 1 to 11 incoming lines where there's no action, or I can hit it again and enter an account number, and one would be MAST, and hit enter, and I end up at MAST screen number 2. And there's different ways to get to screen number 2, which is all about the account and how many active and old messages they have, and some stuff about the account and things to do. And the other bottom half is the clients that are under the account MAST, or the company name, and this is the name field, and this is the answer screen field, and it's when you go back to the main menu, take the next call, hitting the red button, then it would go to the next. And I set this up automatically to show you, because I had pre-dialed, and that was the last dial I did out, and I could essentially show you by dialing that line, which I will do. Going back to the main screen, go to my cell phone, go to a recent dial, and dial this number in New York. And there's my number right there that dialed in on line 1. I would normally click the red button, and I end up at that account. And I would have my headsets on, and I would be talking like I'm talking to this video, and I would decide what I'm going to do. Answer phrase would be in this green area. This account's not all set up. It's basically what's just installed, and the default is you have an office. No clients. If you were going to add clients, the simplest way to add a client, we'll just put Tom in here, and that's all you need is Tom. Phone numbers, cell phone numbers, so generally you go to texting devices and an email address, but you need nothing really in there but Tom, and hit the account, and now I would have Tom. And I could take a message, and this would be a blank message already with Tom, and fill in something from Fred, and something down here we'll call back, and that's as simple as having a message, and hit the main screen or do a control 4 and back here, and I'm already done. Messages are saved pretty much on the fly. Okay, and if I wanted to go back to that account, which happened to have been this one, and see the last message, fix that. But here's the will call. That's the message I took for Tom. So the other third screen for a general operator to learn is the message screen. Let's review the message screens. 1, 2, 3. Main screen. I can go to that account screen this way, and that's screen number 2, which is the account and the clients, and go to a message, and that's the message ticket screen. On the left hand side, the blue area is the person we're taking the message for, Tom, from Fred, phone numbers, the message. I could set that message on a timeout, set it for 15 minutes from now. I could have it reoccur on a recurring day at the same time every day or the other day, and I could set that message so this message would be in a one time if that was an option that was enabled, but that option is not enabled. I can check my tracking of those messages when that message was taken. This is the time zone on that account versus the account or the answering services time zone. And so when I take a message for this particular account, I'm really time stamping the message plus 3 hours, because they're ahead of us 3 hours, and running real time in our world. So looking at this message, and there's not many messages in this account, so let's flip back to the main, go to my play world, which is Mastar, and I've got a few more messages active. and they're color coded. Templates are set up according to this one. It's a template for a tow truck. It could be a taxi cab. Have the ability to search, extend it, and archive. I can tag things and not clear on hold situations. One little trick, if I click any place other than some field that might highlight and have some option to do, like this gray area right here, if I click on that several times, click with the left key, and look over here on this side, when I click that, you notice that it blinks. Okay? If you look at across the whole screen, what blinks is really the options you have the ability to play with. Okay? And so we were able to come back to this message. And we found it quite quickly. We could also set on hold, reselect the message, and send it out to another client in that database or this account. We could email it. We might have it set up to attach a document to this email. We could have had it set to some advanced date ahead. Okay. We could have that as a text message, advanced date ahead. So this data in the message plus the from caller, and if any phone numbers are filled in, would be text. Okay. If the formats were all correct and so forth. And it could be a scheduled email. Think about this. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays only at 9:05 p.m. send an email or a text. And you don't really have to do much. So when I set up this client, Sissy, I set that client to be a control 1. It would automatically email, deliver it, but no, so it be kept the opposite, being active. So old and new, delivered and active are opposites. Not put in the holding list, messages on hold. And when I do a control 4, so up here in the left hand corner, I got some hotkeys, and a control 4 is return to main menu. Control 1 and return to main menu. And a few others. I got a pop-up, incoming calls. So I'm working on the program and the phone rings. I do a control 6 and I see who's calling in if I want to. Generally, in the way we answer and take messages, I think the most polite way of doing it is finish the message that you're in. And when you get all done, you're done with that client, you've hung up, then you take the next message in. And then you do something. And we could have quick keys over here. We might just want to say that was a hang up message and do a control 4, and we've saved that message. Okay, which was a count. Here, that message was a hang up message. Okay. Another way to see messages, looking backwards across the tab keys, exploring yourself. That's what I've been using as my alphabetical directory, and because I'm lazy sometimes to type in 4 digits and hit the enter key, I just do a click on the mouse. All the active messages, but I wanted to show you I got a message called view all, active and old. Okay, and you can see they're marked as active, or they're old, or they're on hold, or these are scheduled messages. And one little black guy called a now message that separates the time it is now to the alarms that were set that may be coming due, or the ones that are past the now time are late. And some color codes. So moving across, I've got status, office status, and I've got alerts. No alerts out there, so if we go out to an account, let's say Rick, and in this area I put anything, an X, and exit back, I now have an alert in that account and a beep when I get in there that there's something happening on the alert. Office status is a custom first line setup, but you can still add anything you want. at the main, I also have an office bulletin that you could essentially cut and paste into. And remember, we want to log out. I'm going to log out, and this time as OP1. Keeps track how many agents that we have because we are a multi-user. It's been 24 hours since we've done a reset. And now I'm at OP1. I'm the only operator logged on. Okay. And if I go out to the MCR, click OK, it logs me in as OP1, which is Bobby of Mastar. That's just an agent. And remember that agent only had the name to play with. They didn't have a calendar, they didn't have tracking, they didn't have admin. But they do have a filter. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you a little bit about different agents doing different things and some of the controls that we have. And back to the main. A park message is a message that is control 5 from any place in the message. So if I go out to where the most messages were, any message, even an old message, which happens to be pink, and the active messages tend to be greenish. And anytime I do something, I set up this my status area, so flags generally in this little area. And I go to an old message, and I can increment to go to the last. And we'll increment one more and look for sort of just an old message. That's it, just an old message. There's things I can do with that old message, and let's see. Not much data. Most of my messages are pretty skinny, just to get to the point. But some of the things I haven't showed you on that message is I have a perform actions. And there's a phone book for that account. Anytime we dial out, we can dial these numbers. These clicking on this will actually dial that number, just like I dialed my number before from someplace else. And these are more permanent numbers, but these are the crude numbers that we've done over the period of time dialing out on this account. And your billing cycle is between the time you close it. So we create a nice counter, print, email, view, fax, a nice little format if you choose, but it's not an accounting package. New operator comes in, you tell them enter the account number, press the red button, go to that account, choose who you're going to take a message, enter in this area, do a control 4, or go back to the main screen, you're done, take the next message. And always do a control 1 because that's the way that client was set up. Now you can always go into the message and email something other than what the control is on this one. This one has no control. Okay, it's just a blank. Okay, the situation, these are pink, that's because they're not green, and so we're not doing any grouping, so it looks like we haven't set up our fax yet, and we don't have a page master, which is alpha digital paging. We can do texting, but we don't do alpha and digital and other types of paging grouping because it's not in our code. We port to $118 simple little program called Page Master that you may not need or use if you choose email text. If we're going to enter and do faxing, I'm going to include in EF*, another module that's after we get smoothing things out, because I'm not going to install everything at the very beginning. There's just too much for you to learn unless you need faxing right now. Okay, so a new operator comes in, we tell them sit at the main menu, answer the phone, press the red button, or enter in the account number any way you can. Get to the second screen, choose who you want to take a message for, and take that message, okay? And now you're in a third screen, which is a message, new template. There's a few things missing, and basically all you're going to do is enter in the message, do a control 1, and you're done with that message. We got a new message, okay? And so the other thing is that you're in the account and you don't know what to do because you haven't come to that situation as an operator, and you're still learning the accounts, and most of the information is up there, but you want to know something else. And so first place I'm going to suggest that you look is the actions. And the actions is a free-for-all, no limit to the numbers with the scroll bar of all the different subtitles down the left-hand color, and the ones that are color-coded are the ones up in the top right-hand corner that are preset. But you can have anything you want. So, for instance, you got a veterinarian that has 3 offices, but or 4, and one first week, one office takes it for the other 3, and the next week that office takes it for the other 3, and so forth and so on. And so here's where you would have the pertinent information regarding the other second office or veterinarian's emergencies information that is pertinent to this situation and most all calls. And any kind of on-call or emergency situation could be included in this area, but might also be included back at the message. And so with that information or something in tune here, we could essentially set up some client for this account at certain particular times to be on call. And checking this one that's on call, I would set that call, leave it the way it is. I'm not going to change anything on the time. I might change the reason, and I'm going to save that. And so now that one is changed. Now this one here is one color, so if I go to that account, set that one up, and set its time for whatever some has to do with it, and and it happens to be on a monthly mode. So any place in the month is good enough for me. Okay, it won't make any difference as long as I stay in the month. Okay, and I kind of screwed up in the format of that because I need to do that in a better way of doing things. And I think I screwed that one up too. Let me try that here. See what happens. Okay. And click OK, save that. And so that would change. Someone has, so I've changed that particular on call. Well, this is green because of this month, October, and this is cyan because next month is coming forward, and that person will be on call for the whole month, or on a weekly basis, or whatever we choose. Now, setting up our clients, we can add new clients, but over here on the right-hand column, the binoculars is view and edit those clients. So there's a lot more in viewing and editing than back to the account, and I'm going to add a new client, which we want to do on the other account. And I'm going to add another client. I'm going to modify Tom because he's not set up completely. And I'm going to go in. There's Tom. I'm going to set up for an email, and I'm going to auto deliver it to old when I take that email. Okay, and that's when I'm going to add it. And I need to add an email address at x at y.com or whatever, something better than that. Okay, and exit out. And so Tom is set up for an email, and I enter in a message for Tom, and I got these quick messages quickly over here that just paste those things in. And I could just do a control 1 that emails, delivers it, doesn't send it to the to-do list because I can't deliver it. I have to have an active message to send it to the to-do waiting list and return back to the main show. So clicking here returns me back to the main. Emailed it, and it went out to Tom's email address, which was pretty fictitious. And my email server is going to return me back, and we'll see what that looks like. Not yet. Nope, yep. A mail looks like it's undeliverable, huh? That I sent out to somebody, and the original message is kind of gobbledygook. Okay, but there's the address I use, x@y.com, which was fictitious. And back to our program. Okay, so what if you got your screen over here, and generally you click the title at the top and it refaces us to the top left hand corner. Looking at the admin section, I'm an OP1. I'm not an admin. I've got to enter an admin to get through the password. Not everybody is to play out here, and this is for the owner. And so I need to have an owner password. Well, passwords and operators are in the manager area, OP2, to modify that. And here's where, let me click this. I'm going to clear all that. I'm going to click this. This is a kind of a monitoring process for operators logging and VoIP queuing. Okay. There's the operator A that's logged in. I could add more operators on the. And I got some ability for different operators to log in from the outside, which would be your clients, Jack and Jill, logging in, and they would go to a different point, to a different part of the program, not to the wait for a call, monitoring, taking messages. They don't have any need for that. What they have the need to do is to give me my on-call information, who's up, and also send me notes and possibly look at their messages, but they can't do much with their messages. They can just kind of look, okay? They can't print, they can't email, fax, and do anything to them, but there's a column tabular view of that. But here's where we manage our operators, and I'm going to exit out of there. And here's where we add a new account. To add a new client under this account, or add a new account, is as simple as adding the pink area, email, phone number, company name. We'll call this 3 or 555 or 6. And I'm just going to fictitiously follow through with the same garbage. As you'll notice, I'm pretty much for garbage in my data, as I said. And that's good enough, and save it. And I say yes because I can't change this area here for reasons. And now that sets me up with that much added to the account. That's good enough to add my clients. Click out, click back to the main again. Just go find that account, 555. I've got a fill-in and an office. By default, I'm ready, up and going. I can take messages, get my clients in. Now that fill-in brings me up to another point on my configuration application. If I take a message to a fill-in, I've got to fill in the person's name who I'm talking to. And if I put in a bunch of F's and say OK, you notice that I filled in the top fill-in field. Now I'm set for a tab key to put in Wayne. That's as good as a message can get, and I'm done. I got one message in the system, and that was fill in for Wayne. That's a fill in, that's an option. I'm choosing not to have a fill in option. And so back to the OP. Into the configuration a little bit more by an owner's password. Also OP2 that you change later. And looking down here a little bit, I have a bunch of miscellaneous switches, and one happens to have the word fill in. Do not include fill in client. Yes, and that's yes. Looking further, as I have a billing system set up on a quarterly basis, I have additional master configurations because not everybody's the same, and I want to be able to do some customizing if you choose. and I have a calendar module that is not loaded. Okay, which I'm going to add yes to load it. I have my VoIP set up, the account answering services, UTC time zone, so that we have a reference point that we're taking messages for. I have an elaborate setup for email and faxing from all different ways of doing things. And if you choose to use my email fax, then it also comes with an email server that's similar to sending it to SMTP Google. Okay, or I can come through SMTP by answering yes, and this is a standalone on the side, and all operators would port jobs to the fax and the email. Okay, where here all operators have to use the same here, or we can run a combination of the two and divide our jobs out, that texting goes one way and emails go another way and faxing goes another way. And so that's over a period of time. All this has got a little bit more complicated, but the way it's set up, emails, texts, and if you wish to add tap paging, then we would install the Page Master application by answering a yes right here. And it's currently set to purge all messages down to 0, where sometimes I might want to keep a default to 90 days protected, and that's not turned on because we're playing. So make sure you set up your data here, and this is for my import update process. That one message, that was a fill-in, and that was a brand new account that was entered, and that shouldn't have had a fill-in. But if I went out to that client, a fill-in is a blank name. And so anything that has a blank name becomes a fill-in by default anyways. Okay, but by adding an account, we don't normally get fill-ins by default, and that's the idea. So here, this choose a person, I'll call it Jane, and you be more thorough on that. And a phone number, and hit the tab key. And I know that's my phone number, and today it's with AT&T, and I'm going to say yes. I check that to be an OK paging process, and I'm going to text out, and that would be a public texting process that you can go into any URL to any smartphone that has the ability for doing texting, and through that generic standard way we'll send texting all day long. Of course, person that has the text smartphone, he's going to receive those texts all day long, and if you just type your little heart out, he'll have maybe 2-3 messages in one, all paid and incrementing his billing process, and he'll probably be talking to you about sending too much gobbledygook. All he wanted was the cross street and the license plate and the time, you know, and you still need to take the message, and so type your heart out, but we have a way of stripping out only what we want to text out, and that's the process that I want to show you. And I'm going to exit out, and now he's set up as a text, and that changes by the process of passing through. But setting up a text client could be a little more complicated, and we have to be a little bit more stringent on our format, versus we have a raw version that has a red flag here, and we've dropped into the first time In a raw version, anything that's in here is part of the message, and so every time I take a message, I'm going to set that person for a raw, and I'm going to go back out and I'm going to take a message for Jane, that I have a raw any here information default plugged in here. By default, take a message for Jane, friend, and exit out. Change back from a raw to a format. Got a flag says something happened. Now we're into here, and in this particular person here, I'm going to put a wiggly line 1. Next, cross street. I'm going to put a wiggly line 2, and by default I'm going to have a message block so I can type my little heart out on the rest of the message and fill in the blank for anywhere in cross street. And I'm not going to include a number 3 in here, which means that I would send this plus the text box. I don't want to send the text box. I want to email this to him later. But I'm going to strip out his message to data only. I'm not going to include an optional list, pull down, whatever, because I didn't fill anything in this field. And I'm going to accept that as a simple message to text out all day long to this particular person, and I'm going to save that message. And I could also add these messages to more than one saved templates. Okay, add, delete, manage those up here. But this is the Jane. This template is 11, simple. I'm going to set it. I'm going to exit out. I'm going to take a message for Jane, and you notice I've already got anywhere 1 and 2, and I'm going to take this for Betty. Nothing else, and I hit the tab key. I go over to the enter. If I hit the tab key one more time, I will go to the alarm, and so forth and so on, until I get to the end, and then I go over to the phone number. Or I start off in Betty and hit the tab key once. I'm at the enter like we were before, and this time I'm going to hit the enter and puts me to the phone number field, bypassing the quick message. And I'm not going to put any phone numbers in, but I'm going to tab into this next message field. Guess what happens? It puts me into a form with the default that I can type my heart out, all the stuff about the message, and say anywhere USA at Cross Street ABC Avenue. And I could tab to the orange area, hit done, and that packs in the message and 1 and 2. And so when I send out a text to this particular email address, I think was wrong, I will only text out USA ABS Avenue to the text owner smartphone and retain the message here as is that I might choose to email along with a text, or possibly schedule it 15 minutes or tomorrow or afternoon or whatever, or email a text, schedule it every other day, the same message to remind them to do something, be creative on that, but the flexibility I try to build into the application. And at the same time, every time we do something, we will increment and add a line to this transactional line right here. All these will be timestamped by text or email. Last time I did that, but I will have ongoing data so I can track the history of that particular message being over and over again the same template, or I could go back to the same message and update it. So I'm looking for your suggestions. What have I missed? Put a lot of time into this application. It's come a long ways over the years. This is my baby. And if you've been watching my screens, read my words, you've seen that it's changed. But it's always worked. It's always worked really well. For our answering service up here in Eugene, it ran for 15 years. It updated several times, but for one time at the end, it was 3 years and never had a glitch. And 80,000 plus message active and old. And we were so cocky that actually the owner of the business was going to move down to Arizona, and we were going to leave the equipment up here remotely, and I was going to maintain it. And with all that said, that got program runs very well. It does a lot of things. I'm pretty proud of it. I put a lot of time being perfect, role playing it. Others have given me some great feedback, and now this solved the problem of getting clients by playing with mcRemote, add records, increment through those records, work our database, remember people's names, call them back on times that we were supposed to, send organized letters, documentation, information, reminders, emails. What are we missing? Birthday letters? You never know. But I wrote this program for you, and I just want you to use it. Give me some feedback. And this particular application, mcRemote, is new, and so I would want some feedback, comments, and beta testing, and I'll change it as fast as you can give me problems. If you can find a problem. I can't find any more problems anymore. I can find some screenies that I might be able to move a dot left or a dot right in a few minor situations, but it's not going to go crash. Hiccup. Error number 010123445 makes no sense. That's not going to happen here. So, anyways, I think I've exhausted myself. I'm going to log out. And I'm going to log back in as operator OP2. And that's the administrator right there. And I want to show you something. Up here, it shows I've got one operator logged on, OP2. Well, the proper way of logging on is to log out. But it happens, we click the old or X. Well, operator 2 is still logged on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the application. I'll click OK. I'll put in OP2, which is already logged on, and it recovers. Logs off the operator, and now it logs the operator back on again. A little extra work, and I should run that 24-hour process in the If I click continue, no, okay, clears all, resets everything, and it starts setting a couple of alarms that are not reoccurring. This particular one-time alarm was not accepted, so it recreated its event. Up here says I have an event that happened. That's because if I'm out taking messages at 8:02 and 20 seconds, puts me back up to that alarm or that message. Okay, so I can deal with it. I'm going to clear that. And there's another stage to that alarm message that puts me into a continuous ring, ring, ring. And so I have to accept it so it can wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning with multiple ring, 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 ring until or whatever you sleep through. But that's possible. Or maybe next step it'll throw an electrical shock out at some wire. Anyways, kind of showing you around a little bit. I can clear that. But I cleared that alarm. I'll be looking for some things to do on this program because I always want to make it better. Here for you, here to help you, train you. If you're interested in the demo is step 1. Be to show you on my program, my computer, step you through a couple of things, but to allow you to download and install it on your computer, and then you do a join me, and I'll come in and look over your shoulder at your screen, and you drive, and I'll direct you to do certain things. We can spend an hour, a couple hours, and I think that'll give you enough information to move on forward. At that particular time, you would be with a VoIP service, a couple of agents, handful of DIDs. Go out and sell them, forward your clients to those DID numbers, and answer phones. Email, text. If you want to tap Alpha Digital Page, that's $180. You got to pay for a phone service, VoIP, $20 an agent, $4 a DID, real cheap, quick. Fastest I've set up a service is 3 days. Most of that was training, and the clients don't run fast enough for me. So I'm offering my time, mentorship. I want you to understand and learn this application and feel comfortable. Know that it works. I'm here for you. But you know, this move as fast as we can so we can get this job done and learn, role play yourself, become proficient, roll over, study those 1, 2, 3 screens. That's what you need to learn, the admin stuff, the configuration stuff. Once we set it, you don't have to go out there and play around that much. Get some clients going. Manually enter one at a time. Well, buy a list from a list of all your apartment complexes, all your dentists, what kind of clients you want to handle, plumbers, roofers, bail bondsmen, attorneys only, zip code oriented. You know, I suggest go out and knock on a door a couple of hours and talk to people, look in their face, shake their hand, tell them how well you're going to take care of their program, their system, know their information, they're on call, after hours, what's up, about their business. Sell yourself. So this is Gal Friday. The way it goes is I bury your business name into my application. I'm not charging any updates or service fees. Free gratis. Use my program. Abuse me later on down the road. Everybody needs a little compensation. Work that out. You want to get into the answering service business? Where do you find an opportunity with an application that runs so well, does everything you need it to do? You don't need T1 lines, expensive hardware. All you need is a computer, an internet connection, a router, set up Windows-based system, 7, 8, or even XP. Prefer the latter, the newer ones. I'm XP and Windows 7. I haven't jumped into Windows 8 yet, but some have, and they work just fine. Need headsets. You could run with a soft phone sitting on the side here. It looks like a phone pad called Robo-Dialer. But really you can be answering calls, dialing out through my phone numbers. You can patch, do all the PBX stuff that most phone companies allow. Transfers, disperse out certain DID numbers to certain operator agents that are better with one account versus another. There's a lot of control at the front end. On the VoIP side, our VoIP provider is not a telephone company. They are a telephone VoIP software company. Developers of software. They do things that most VoIP telephone companies cannot do. I've talked to enough engineers out there. They want me to buy expensive TAPI modules. Really have control of your PBX. I don't need control. I just need to dial, get the next number, a few little bells. You know, make it simple. Simpler means less problems. Easier maintained support. So, you want more than one operator? You need 2 FileMaker licenses. I supply a 1 compiled 32-bit application, all inclusive. For 2 operators, we need 2 FileMaker licenses. Then all you use is 2 of my files, the program and the data file, 2 program files. And the whole engine is the FileMaker engine. That's why it doesn't ever crash. FileMaker doesn't crash. It's pretty well set up, has a big company background, community base behind it. It's taking care of all those operator record file locking, all that background junk. Just write a nice pretty screen, write some nice scripts, everything works. Don't have to worry about lock this record because I got operator coming in from Yaya land out there trying to access the same message. I'd done that before back in the old days. So 2 operators would be 2 FileMaker licenses. They're $300 each. So figure this, $300 per workstation that you need to spend in a couple little mini modules, less than $200. But when you build a system that does so much for a few $100, you gotta have VoIP to play. So you gotta get VoIP now, even though you don't have clients. You need at least 1 agent and 2 numbers. So you can see 2 lines up there ring in. Just make that ring in again. Good for old redial, huh? My phone. Ring, ring, ring. There it comes. Then I click the red button, wouldn't I? That's pretty fast. And be talking to the client and taking a message. Well, I appreciate your interest, your time. I appreciate it even more so if you got to the end of this video. Don't mean to be boring, but I'm pretty excited about this. I'm excited because it works so well. I'm excited because I could go out there and add something to it. In the About page, we have the backup, which is back up those 2 files to a folder. You can do that as often as you want to, as fast as you want to. Email comments to myself. And this would be a sync to the time it is now to the another clock someplace on the planet. I'm not going to click that right this moment because it's 9:37 my time, and I don't like syncing anywhere near midnight, if that could be the case, depending on where it syncs to. And returning back to the main menu. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your time, your patience. Follow me through here. And my voice seemed to hang on there. Have a nice day. Call me anytime. Weekends, 7/24, I'm here for you. It's all about this program. It's about you and your business. It's about you having clients. It's about you having faith that this works and that you could set up your clients and feel proficient and comfortable doing. Have a great day. Ask me anything.